and start out by recapping a couple of former Pac-12 rivalries. We're finally into this feeling of, okay, these are Big Ten teams now.
Yeah.
We saw it up close with UCLA, but you could say the same with Washington, and it felt like a Big Ten type of game with Washington State in the Apple Cup, and the Cougars come out on top. A shout out to Jake Dickert and his team.
Yeah, and the thing about it, I don't care if they're in different conferences or whatever, it's still a bitter rivalry, right? They're two schools from the same state, just like Oregon State. The game means a lot to both schools, and I would say now, because Washington State and Oregon State probably feel a little bit snubbed by their in-state rival, the game maybe even carried even more weight for them, particularly this year, the first year with the change. So, great win for Washington State. Washington certainly had their chances to win. They were in position to win the game, or at least be in position for that. Couple of things that really hurt them. I mean, penalties. They had 16 penalties, 135 yards. It's hard to overcome that, particularly in a good game, a close game, just like turnovers are hard to overcome. And then a critical fourth down stop, and again, credit Washington State and their team, for coming up for the big play defensively. But, Washington was right down at their 1 yard line and a chance to take the lead and with a little over a minute to play and couldn't get it done. So Washington State earned it. It was a hard-earned victory and certainly a sweet one for the Cougars.
Puzzling play call for some by Jed Fish on that goal line opportunity in the final minute of the game, but the Cougars get it done. The Pac-12 still lives on, and potentially expansion, which we saw this week, is very much in the cards if they can find two more teams to reach the minimum for a big conference around college football and really all of NCAA athletics. You mentioned Oregon State. I think we were almost trying to see what we were going to find from this game, because to your point, Oregon State's a great rivalry. Right. Oregon State probably felt the same way Washington State did going into the game, but it felt like the Ducks finally found what they've been looking for, and realistically what we've all been looking for out of them as well.
Yeah, I mean, let's face it. Oregon was 2-0, but in a lot of ways kind of underachieved, were underwhelming in their first two wins, and really had dogfights in both of them, particularly last week against Boise State, had to win with a last-second field goal. So this was more, I think, the Oregon that we were expecting to see. That was, the Oregon that everybody thinks will contend for the Big Ten, contend for a college football playoff spot. I think that obviously their defense played better. And then they made some tweaks, to their offensive line. I don't know exactly all the moves, but they had been having some problems protecting Dylan Gabriel, not running the ball effectively. And in this game against a good team in Oregon State, the biggest thing that stood out to me, they ran the ball for 240 yards, which was more yardage than their first two games combined. And so they were able to control the line of scrimmage. And I think that was more what we were expecting to see. We know they have the flash players, the quarterback, the wideouts, the big play, explosive play ability, but they had not been dominant on the line of scrimmage until this game against Oregon State.
I think you hit the nail on the head. It is all about the offensive line for this team. The first 2 weeks, it was really below what they needed it to be. And if they protect Dylan Gabriel, he's going to find open targets. They just have too many weapons on the outside for it not to be the case. Dan Lanning said they played to their standard. And if they do that, they're going to beat a lot of teams, and they're going to put themselves in positions to win. So it was just good to see Oregon finally seem like they put it all together in all three phases of the game.